Today is June 6th, 2024. The video that I usually make in the morning, the first video. Last night, I slept, but it took me a while to sleep. And then while sleeping, middle of the night, I woke up and then I was having a little trouble sleeping. So then I did a Buddha meditation that I have been doing for a while now. Sometimes daily, sometimes I end up doing after a few days. But for months now, I think I've been doing that meditation at least once a week. And in that meditation, usually I get those messages that helps me to learn and grow. Yesterday in that meditation, it's sort of like you ask a question to Buddha. After going through certain steps, you ask a question to Buddha, and then you kind of get an answer. And the answer all goes with your belief. Either you can believe that the answer is coming directly from Buddha, or the answer is coming from the universe or from your subconscious. But ultimately, I found that it is helpful, and which is why I keep doing this. So last night, some realization happened that when there's somebody's code where it says that your present is it's not exactly said that way, but what it means is your present is the result of your past actions, and similarly your future is going to be built on your actions from the present, because the present moment is going to become the past when you think of the future. So anyway, as we try to be a good, kind, and a compassionate person, there are a lot of books and things to follow. There's a very good book, Dale Carnegie's book, How to Make Friends and Influence People. That's a very good book. It's a 100-year-old book, but they have made it relevant. The book is called same name with it, has a digital age, How to Make Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. A few years ago, I listened to it many times, and it did help me. In that book, there is a section where it says, when we as human, when we are set off, the first 5 minutes is the most important time, where when we are triggered, first 5 minutes is when we are most vulnerable. Now, that 5 minutes is given to you if it's an email. But imagine when you are talking to somebody, either on the phone or in person, or a crisis situation happens when you are triggered. You don't have that 5 minutes. You have a split second to respond. And in that split second is what goes on in your mind that shapes your immediate future, and a lot of time the mid or long-term future. It would be great if you have 5 minutes always. You don't have that. So what I figured from that meditation last night was that it's in those split second the stories that we tell ourselves. It's ultimately the stories that we tell ourselves about the any past event or situations or people or places, right? People are people, places are places, and but we ourselves, we attach the meaning and the stories to those people, to those stories. We draw the pattern. We as human beings, based on our assumptions, perceptions, um, how we grew up, culture, what's going on in our life. We are in a good mood, bad mood, um, whatever is going on in our life. Based on that, we attach a meaning to that event, the event, the people, the places, and then so what could be a one little trigger could end up causing multiple trigger, because those patterns we are drawing, it's not really happening. And I'm going to give an example. My daughter Alice, she broke her arm in April, and a sequence of events happened where she broke, she fell again when she had the cast on. That was a challenge, and then the arm got better after 2 months, and then now and then she had some other challenges going on with rashes that got better, and then right after that she broke her arm again. So in my mind, I'll be honest, I'm struggling a little bit to deal with that, and I'm working with my therapist about it. that that now that she broke her arm second time, in my mind, I try to tell myself this is a separate event. It's not the same thing. That it's a fear that that she could fall again, and then in those endless cycles of doctor's appointments and all of that. Not to mention seeing her in this as a mom is not easy. I spoke to my mom this morning. I speak to her once in a while. She's in India, very far away, and she was also sad that how, as a little kid, she's only 8 years old, and going through these accidents and stuff. Alice had a few of those last year, breaking her tooth, and she's hospitalized this year. But anyway, the point is, again, it goes back to the stories we tell ourselves. So what I'm trying to do is tell the story to myself that this is an independent event. I do not have to draw the pattern from the last time. I do not have to draw the pattern from the last time. And it's not easy because our brains are wired in such a way that it always looks for a pattern. And that's how our habits are formed. So to train our brain, you have to, that 5% of the conscious mind that is working to influence the 95% of the subconscious mind, it has to work hard. It has to work hard, but there's no choice. If you want peace and happiness and betterment in life, gotta do the work. Gotta do the work. I have been doing a lot of spiritual practice, reading books and doing meditation, and still hours of it. I've been doing it for 6 months, and even recent days. And I have noticed when I don't do it versus when I do it, there's a difference. But then how do you balance your duties at home, your day-to-day things, your dishes and cooking and groceries and all that with the spiritual practice. One way I found is, which I'm still learning and teaching myself, is that how Thich Nhat Hanh would say that you don't have to sit down and meditate and think that that is only the time for you to meditate. Every activity that you are doing, if you are doing it mindfully, that can be like a meditation. So it's not easy. I'm trying to practice that as I'm making this video. I'm trying to stay present in this moment so that it helps. And it did become a habit so far. At least it's been closer to, no, not 2 weeks, a week and a half I'm making these videos. And I'm glad that I started it, because I do feel that I'm living more consciously and I'm catching myself where I can improve, because ultimately I follow a lot of the things from Buddhism. It talks about when you have unwholesome thought, and the unwholesome thought and the actions unwholesome thought can be not about just getting angry. It's about resentful thoughts. It's about being jealousy or hatred or wishing for anything that is not good. So so all of those will be unwholesome. Even about complaining about something could be unwholesome. So now, as a human being, can we be perfect? We can't. Maybe sometimes we'll do those, but it's all about minimizing them. It'll never become zero until we die. But it's all about minimizing them so that we live our life more peacefully. And when we are peaceful, then people around us will be more peaceful, be that as your work, school, home, friends, whoever you think of. So yeah, the main important part is, for today, I wanted to tell that to myself, is that it's those split-second stories that we tell ourselves that shapes our future. Because it is those split second that can make you feel or think something good or bad, and then your actions will be dependent on that, because our thinking, feeling, and actions, like a triangle: thinking, feeling, action. And the action could be speaking something, doing something, and that is always dependent on the thinking and feeling. So, and if we can control anything, which is hard to do, just control our own mind. We can't control other people. No matter how much we try, we really can't control anybody else. And a little bit of that can happen with the way we respond. Different people have a different way of processing information. So the same message we can relay differently, and that's not easy, because we as human beings, we want to relay the message the way we know, the way we process it. But remembering that the person on the other side is not me. So for effective reception of that message, we have to communicate the way the other person can receive it in a positive way, because ultimately, if we want to change or influence change, and that is a lot what is covered in the Dale Carnegie book, is that you have to leave somebody a little better, because every interaction that we have with the person, every nod, even email, text, phone conversation, in person, every communication would is nothing is neutral. It can either make the person feel a little better or a little worse. That's the Dale Carnegie rule. And now it's not possible for us to think about it in each and every communication that we have with each and every individual. But more we do that, then sometimes when we don't do that can be forgiven by the other person, because then the mind focuses on the more good. I don't know what the right percentage is, but I have seen different where they say for a good relationship, the ratio is 5:1, where you have 5 positive communication to overcome 1 negative communication. I've also heard that there is 15:1, 15 positive to 1. 15 is too far to aim. Let's start with 5. So it's about watering. Remember to water in Buddhism term, in Thich Nhat Hanh's book. Watering 5 times, so that one time it gets the heat or the sun. I'm using this part as a metaphorical example, so that the plant doesn't burn, because if we water less and less and there is heat, the plant is gonna die. Even if we water just one time and there is heat, the plant is not going to be in good condition. He uses lettuce as an example, watering a lettuce. So if we want the lettuce to survive and thrive, we have to keep watering it more and more than 5 times, to endure the heat of one time. And it's not easy, and that's why we have to do it consciously. We have to do it consciously because our autopilot nature, our subconscious mind, is not used to doing that. So we have to kind of teach ourselves to do that on a conscious basis. And more we do, the good part of it is the more and more we do, it becomes a habit. I remember back in 2019, I worked at a place where I created this gratitude wall at the company for 100 people team, and there was so much positivity that spread. The wall was about somebody would write something good in a post-it note about somebody else when they helped, and it was taken in such a good way that it grew the positivity not only within the team, but the organization. It was not very big, it was about 500 people. They wanted to implement in the other parts of the organization, and which was awesome. And this gratitude wall is a concept. It seems, interestingly, I didn't know before I started it. It's somehow I came up with randomly. I thought of the gratitude rock part, which I saw in that the Law of Attraction, The Secret movie, and then those days there was this thing about building the wall between Mexico and US, and I thought how bad it is like a something as a dividing thing, whereas you can use that as a bringing people together. So I almost wanted to use it in a good way so that it brings people together. So that's why I kind of used it as like a gratitude wall. And since then, different company I tried to use that in a virtual. It's harder to use in a virtual world. I'd be honest. The good impact is not as it's there, but not as strong, lack of a better word, as when it was in person. So in the last several months, I actually started doing a gratitude wall at home, and this is my gratitude wall over there. I have a bunch of things in the house. Next to the Buddha picture, I write it down. Through gratitude at least every morning, and sometimes we as a family we try to do in the evening, either when we are having a dinner or before going to bed. Lately we have been not doing it as much. Seems like sometimes there is no right time. We have to find the right time because it takes less than 5 minutes, and then they say that it's really helpful to do, so you have to figure out a way to continue doing that. Anyway, so gratitude in Buddhism, they would say it's the mother of all the virtues. So yeah, because that is another way that we can keep our mind in the positive zone. But going back to that today's message, I wanted to keep that deep within me and remember that it's those split-second stories about the people, places, and events that we tell ourselves is gonna shape our future. So you gotta do that wisely. If somebody is acting not so kind or things like that, we gotta remember the times when they were kind to us, when they were good to us. You would hope they would do that too about yourself, but maybe if they don't do it the first time, when they see you doing that, then they might do that too. Because we can't change others, we can only change ourselves. So by doing that, ultimately, life is short. You want to live a peaceful life, and if not anything, this is what can bring you peace. Because when we are sad or resentful, it doesn't harm others, it harms ourselves. I remember the stories. What happens is we all have two versions of ourselves. This one version, which is nice and kind and compassionate, inspiring, all the good. And there's another version that's sad and resentful and negative. And our subconscious always pushes us here, and our conscious mind tries to push us here. And in Buddhism, there is also saying that sometimes try to live in the middle way, because we as human beings, we can't be God, we can't always be this, but we can strive to be. And if we're living in the middle way, we accepting ourselves is not always easy, but that creates compassion for ourselves. Because imagine if we can't be compassionate and kind to ourselves, how can we expect others to be kind and compassionate? So one way of doing it is think of a friend, a good friend, who would tell you it's okay You did your best. Try again. That's what you want to say to yourself. Um, you fell, so get back up and try again. That is life. So, yeah. So when we tell ourselves those stories, those split-second stories, that can trigger our emotion towards this version or this version. So you want to tell yourselves more of those stories that trigger the good version, right? Because that is what will make you peaceful. Um, I'm going to try to practice that today as much as possible, and hopefully I can continue practicing that. I'll probably make another video sometime later in the day or evening when I can, and I'll see how much of that I was able to do, and I'll capture that. So with that, I'm going to take a few deep breaths to ground myself to this moment and then finish the video.